I'm standing on the very spot where it all started. This is the discovery claim on what is known as Bonanza Creek. Um, and the story, as the story goes, it was an indigenous fella who actually found the very first gold here. His name was Skookum Jim. Him and his wife were with an American named George Carmax, and they were just kind of passing through. It wasn't anything deliberately planned, but they came across another fellow by the name of Henderson, who had been, he was a lot more serious as a prospector, and they came across him farther up the creek, or on another creek nearby. And according to the custom at the time, there was a code, a miner's code, a prospector's code, where you shared all your knowledge that you had on your finds in the area. And Henderson had said that he had found a few specks of gold on the creek he was working on, and he suspected that there would be more on this particular creek. It wasn't even called Bonanza Creek at that time. And as it happens, like the following day, when Skookum Jim and Carmax were here looking for moose, Skookum Jim found the very first discovery. What it frustrated a lot of people since then, and at that time, is that he never shared that information back with Henderson, as he probably should have. He immediately, Carmax went and staked the area. He staked this claim that I'm standing on right now, which at that time would have been 1,000 feet by 250 feet or so. He also staked, because he was considered the discoverer, when you stake the discovery, you're allowed to stake a second claim adjacent to it. So he actually staked two claims, and then he also did one for Skookum Jim and for Skookum Jim's wife, which he was allowed to do. Skookum Jim couldn't have done it because he was indigenous, and he wouldn't have been allowed to, but being done by a white guy, that was allowed. So Henderson, unfortunately, never really struck it rich after that. By the time he found out about it, which was like a month or so later, this whole area was all the claims have been claimed. The whole, all the way up and down these creeks, anywhere nearby, was already staked. And so Henderson did continue on for a number of years, but he never did partake in the major gold rush that really he was a key person. George Carmax, the more you learn about him, even though for a lot of years he was given credit for discovering, but as Pierre Burton pointed out in his book, he wasn't very well liked. In fact, he was known as Lying George. Nobody really trusted him as a prospector. He sounds like he was kind of a nasty guy. So it wasn't until much later on, the historians, word did get out that it was Skookum Jim who actually found the original traces of gold. Fortunately, Skookum Jim did continue. He was able to mine here, and both him and George Carmax got extremely wealthy, if you could imagine, as did a lot of other people, but not Henderson, unfortunately. That's just the nature of looking for gold and prospecting. So anyway, it's a pretty cool place to be. Parks Canada, of course, has protected this whole area. It's now a historical site. They did a very nice job with interpretive trail. But I think I'm just about ready to move on from Dawson City. I'm going to head back into town. I haven't gone to the museum yet, so I'm going to go to the museum. I have been quite concerned about making the decision whether to carry on the top of the World Highway, because I get so many different reports. I ask a lot of people who have recently been over it what they think of it. It's a little hard to always separate, their initial opinion to what it really is, because, they look at me on a motorcycle pulling a trailer, and some people are like, oh my God, I would never do that. Other people, in fact, one of the local gals here that was a tour guide I just talked to, she's been here for 25 years. She was just on the route a few weeks ago, and she said that she said the first little part is a bit sandy, potholes, but as long as you go slow and take your time, she doesn't think it would be an issue. So I'm still debating a little bit on that. I thought maybe I would go across on the ferry later this evening and without the trailer and ride up the road a little ways and just see what it really is like, and make my final decision in the morning. So if I do it, I'm going to be leaving pretty early in the morning, I believe. So anyhow, so we'll move on from there.